So, a couple things when we think about Pulumi, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Like I've already done a couple things on my machine here, just because watching me install stuff is not necessarily fun. Maybe it is. I don't know. Whatever's fun for you. But so the thing to remember about Pulumi is Pulumi is free and open source. But what you have to have with Pulumi, when you run a Pulumi program, which is this is my stuff I want to have happen. Like Jay said, it's a program that's saying, here's the thing that I want. Does it already exist that way? If so, cool, don't do anything. If not, well, fix that. It's like a test repair loop. This is common configuration management principle, right? So in order to do that, Pulumi has to have a place to store the state. It has to know the state that your cloud resources and stuff are in so it can compare them. So enter the Pulumi platform. So there's multiple places you can store state. You can store it locally if you really want to YOLO yourself. You can put it in an S3 bucket. You can put it in blob storage. I can't remember what the GCP equivalent is, but whatever, right? Pretty much anywhere that you can store a file, that's fine. Or we have a SaaS platform that you can use. And for individuals, it's totally free. Like if you have multiple teams you want to collaborate with, you need enterprise features like RBAC and policies and stuff, then yeah, that's where you start to pay. But the beautiful thing about using the SaaS as your state store is then you don't have to do it, right? And, as Charity Majors likes to say, the best tool is the one that you don't have to have. The second best tool is a SaaS, right? Our job is to be good at managing state. Your job is to sell shoes or whatever. But if you don't want to do that, that's cool. You don't have to. So on one hand, but what that matters, the reason this comes up is Pulumi, the service, doesn't talk to the clouds at all, right? So when I'm running my Pulumi program, that's what's interfacing with Azure or AWS or GCP or whatever. So because of that, I need the Azure CLI, and I've already installed that. That was a long way of me going, yes, I have, so if we take a look, if I just do AZ, we can see, yep, sure do have. If I run Pulumi and I say, who am I? You can see Pulumi is installed, and I am Matt Stratton. And also I need to upgrade my Pulumi, but that's okay. We won't do a brew upgrade in the middle of a live stream because we know better.
So part of that AZCLI process that you have, you're going to need to authenticate, I'd imagine.
Yes.
And so I think that there's two ways you can tell me that if I'm right or wrong. You can create a service principal and add that to the provider that you're working with, or you can use the AZ login command line, which will bring up a browser, allow you to do your 2FA, and allow you to do that kind of deployment. Or I should say that authentication.
Yep, that's absolutely the case. And that's what I already did, is I just did AZ login connected because I'm sitting here at the Azure CLI all day long anyway, but if I'm putting this in part of a GitHub action or something like that, then I'm going to again, have that GitHub action has to support the Azure CLI and then with the appropriate authentication to connect to that. But again, so Pulumi has no access to your Azure subscription. So it's all we're doing is storing state. Now, you can store secrets inside of Pulumi if that's the best vault store for you for things like that. We're not going to get into that today, but that's where that piece goes. And I kind of took a couple little. I told Jay earlier, like it's not interesting to watch me type for 20 minutes. So I took a couple examples that I really like. And we're going to sort of do a little tour. We're going to run them, see how they go, and then maybe we'll hack on them a little bit, make some changes, and play with some of the things that are features of Pulumi. Like we talk about this idea of stacks, which you might think about as environments. So every Pulumi, and I'm going to do that in just a second. So I think the first thing I'm going to do here is Can
I ask you for one favor, Matt? Can you command plus that?
The text is going to be bigger.
Okay.
See,
it's
just a terminal that's not huge.
Okay, gotcha.
And I can, but I think if I do that, it's going to make my other text bigger. But
yeah, no problem.
It'll be fine. Yeah, it'll. I gotcha. Don't worry. So the first one I'm going to do here is not the Cosmo DB one, but the web server. So we're going to spin up just a Linux web server as an Azure virtual machine and give it a public IP address. Very bog standard infrastructure as code stuff. Just give me a VM, even though everybody's containering all the things and blah, blah, blah. So I already have this. Let me change to the Azure TS web server. Okay. So I already have, in this case, I've already created my Pulumi program and have the code in there, which I'm going to step through. But all that a Pulumi program is it's just a directory with some files in it. And of course, the files that are in there will vary depending upon the programming language that you're writing it in. But what we do have, just sort of a quick little tour, every Pulumi program has a Pulumi YAML, which is just sort of the high level location. You can see that I actually set some configuration values in it, but we're going to talk about stacks in a second where they can get overridden and they can be changed because you might use maybe a different region for dev than you do for prod, if that's how you break things up. And we'll step through the code in just a second. But the first thing that we have to do is I need to create my stack. And so within my Pulumi program, you can have one or more stacks, which a way to think about them might be environments. And the default one we always want is we create one called dev. So I'm just going to say Pulumi Stack and it dev. And what that's going to do is that went ahead and it created now. And in the Pulumi service, if I were to go to the website, I would see that under this project, I now have a stack called dev. Now, we saw that there was a default configurations in this Pulumi YAML. For the config values we're going to create is the region, or sorry, the location, and then the username and password that we're going to use in this particular case. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to set these for my stack. So I'm going to say Pulumi config set, and this is Azure native because and the location should be West US.